Well, our next guest is a commercial airline pilot and an aviation analyst. Marc-Antoine Plourde joins us now. Marc-Antoine, this pilot flew passengers for, I think it's 17 years. Do you have any idea how he was able to do that without the proper license?
Well, there was fraud involved. It's like being given a false $100 bill, and then you use it until it reaches the bank one day, and through the technology, they look at it and say it's not a real $100 bill. So he showed up with false documentation and managed to make his way to the airline, and it must have been a really good job for the airline not to notice that. However, one has to understand that paper alone does not give you a job. You have to do the interview, you have to do a simulator evaluation, and once you're accepted, you have to go through the very rigorous training that airlines dictate on their pilots, mandated by Transport Canada for several months. And he obviously met all those requirements. And if I may just correct a little bit, or perhaps give my version of the analogy that was given by what I heard earlier on, it's not a family physician that's doing brain surgeon. It is a brain surgeon from another country that came here, did not get the proper documentation, did not convert to Canadian laws and regulations, and practice what he was doing in another country, in this particular country, and saved a bunch of lives for the number of years that this surgeon was working. It doesn't make what he did right. But I want to really underline the fact that we have a pilot that was a former military pilot, that was very qualified, served his country, and committed fraud, and joined an airline, followed the proper training. And for 17 years, what people don't know is that every 6 months, our license is void. And every 6 months, we have to go to the simulator and spend 2 days, 4 hours each, and being drilled constantly with engine fires, engine failures, and whatnot. And he passed every one of them until retirement. So we have to look at the fact that he did fly as a captain, and he was not allowed to by law. And that has to be looked at and investigated. And if he's found guilty, then we'll let the authorities decide what the sanctions are. But yeah, it's an unfortunate case, but it's a pilot that met the requirements throughout his career.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on what the police officer said, because I think the exact quote was very close to what you said. The officer said, this is like a family doctor doing brain surgery in his office. And of course, as you point out, that's not the case here.
It's a bit misleading, and I understand he's not in the world of aviation, and I understand that. And there's another analogy that said it resembles the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. But in that case, he was not a pilot at all. In this particular case, this individual was a pilot. He just did not have the legal documentation, and it would have taken him several months, perhaps a year, between leaving the Air Force and joining the airline to get the proper hours that he needed on fixed-wing aircraft and to write the exams.
Yeah, you mentioned the constant supervision, the constant being in the flight simulator. I think you and I years ago talked about this. I've certainly talked to pilots who have said it's like going through the ringer to go through those simulator sessions, and people are evaluating you. And for this pilot, though using a fraudulent document, for him to keep passing all of those sessions, it means he could fly.
Oh, no doubt that he could have been I don't know the pilot in question. I don't have access to his report and evaluation, but he could have been the best pilot. He could have been the safest pilot. However, you need that legal piece of document, and we have to follow the law in Canada. And unfortunately, he did not.
No question of that. So let's finish, Marc-Antoine, with underscoring, I think, what the main point that you want to make, not because you represent an airline, because you don't, not because you represent the union, because you don't, but because you're a guy that cares about flying and cares about your profession as a pilot. Do you think passengers' safety was compromised here?
Sir, I don't believe that the passenger safety was compromised at all. And again, one could interpret my how confident I am saying this as I'm covering for the pilot. I am not, but I need everybody to know that he broke the law. He will pay for this. But in terms of meeting the standards and doing the job right, he did. So it's unfortunate. My job, you know this, Ian, I taught seminars for 20 years on people that were afraid of flying. And my job is to ensure that the public understands how safe it is. And this, not a perfect world, the world I operate in, but every time something happens, we learn from it, we make it safer. And the little license that was handed out on a piece of paper before, obviously typed and all, now resembles a passport. And the change happened only a few years ago, which makes this type of fraud highly unlikely for future.
Marc-Antoine Plourde, a commercial airline pilot, aviation analyst. You are terrific at helping us understand what's going on in the cockpit. And it's been too long since I last talked to you. So thank you very much for connecting with us this evening.
It's been a pleasure, sir.